Okay, now we're going to look at part 1 of functions. And for part 1, I'm going to go the bulleted points that are highlighted in pink, and I'm just going to work on the first 6. And in part 2, I'm going to go ahead and do the bulleted points that are highlighted in blue. So for a function, we're looking at a type of relation where there's only one output for each input. So there's only one element of the range for each element of domain. So that sounds a little complicated, but once you get the words, you get the hang of it, it'll be pretty simple. Function notation is another way to write functions. That's f of x. Y is the output, which is also f of x, and its elements of the range. So here are a couple functions. Here's my f function. And remember, a function is just a type of relationship. And here's g. So I have two different ones. So number 1, I'm trying to find f of 2. Okay, so f of 2, so I know because it's f, I'm using the f function. So f of x is equal to 2x plus 1. So if I want to do f of 2, that's 2 multiplied by 2 plus 1. Notice how everywhere there was an x, I replaced it with a 2. That's all you're trying to do. Now I solve. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. So f of 2 is equal to 5. So if I take 2 as my input, put it into this function, my output is 5. Let's look at number 2. It says find g of 2. Well, g of x is equal to 5 multiplied by x. So g of 2 is equal to 5 multiplied by 2. Notice how there was an x, now there's a 2. So g of 2 is equal to 10. Number 3, f of negative 3. So f of x is equal to 2x plus 1. F of negative 3 is equal to 2 times negative 3 plus 1. So I'm just replacing x with negative 3. So I have a function. What will my output be if my input is negative 3? 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. Number 4, g of negative 3. Well, g of x is equal to 5 times x. G of negative 3 is equal to 5 times negative 3. Notice I replaced all the x's with negative 3's. So g of negative 3 is negative 15. So what I want you to see is I replaced, if I'm not solving for f of x, I'm not solving for f, and I'm not solving for g. The left side is not changing at all after I substitute my input into the function for x. Alright, let's look at a couple that are a little more complicated. Number 5. What I recommend doing is just break these up into two parts. So it's f of 2 minus 3. So I'm going to take f of 2 and I'm going to solve that one first. So f of x is equal to 2x plus 1. So for f of 2, I get 2 times 2 plus 1. And this I already found in number 1. 4 plus 1 equals 5. So f of 2 is equal to 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 5, substitute it in here for f of 2. So it wants me to find f of 2 minus 3. Well, that's 5 minus 3. So the answer is 2. Find that first, substitute it in. Number 6, it wants me to find 4 g of 2. So I'm going to find g of 2 first. G of x is 5 times x. G of 2 is 5 times 2. We already solved this one on number 2. So g of 2 is 10. So since g of 2 is 10, substitute that in. I'm looking at 4 multiplied by 10. So instead of g of 2, I have 10. So my answer is 40.